1 minute after 7. We will open this meeting.
Recording in progress.
Okay, good. And we will have a moment of silence. Okay, and a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're here this evening for the Davis-Thayer Building Reuse Advisory Committee. And a note to the residents, all citizens are welcome to attend public meetings in person. To view the live meeting remotely, citizens are encouraged to watch the live stream on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel or the live broadcast on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29. Meetings are also archived by the Franklin TV on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel and shown on repeat on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29 for those who missed the live meeting. To listen to the meeting remotely, citizens may call in using this number, 1-929-205-6099. This will not permit participation in the meeting. It's to listen. To participate in the meeting remotely, citizens are able to join a Zoom webinar using the information provided below. Zoom webinar ID, hashtag 879-0695-2084. Zoom webinar link here is https://us02web.zoom and us/J/879-069-52084. Any participants who wish to speak during the webinar must enter their full name and email address when joining. All participants will be automatically muted upon joining the webinar. In order to speak, participants who have entered full name and email address will need to select the raise hand function to request to be unmuted. All speakers will be required to state their full name and street address before commenting. There we go. All right, we're here this evening to go over the 4 different proposals that we got, the expressions of interest for the Davis-Thayer Reuse Committee. Our committee has already said that we will keep the land and the building, and we've opened it up to everyone else to see what they're able to do with that parcel. So we're going to do tonight, go through all 4 of them, and we're giving you about 20 minutes, okay, for your presentation. If it goes over a little, we're not going to throw tomatoes at you. Don't worry about that. But we will go over this and see what happens, okay? So our first one this evening is going to be, I wanted to also say, at the end of each presentation, we're going to let the committee ask any questions, okay? That way we won't be interrupting you by any means, and we won't wait until all 4 are completed, and we'll just check on things at the end of your presentation, okay? Let's see. Okay. And I would just ask the committee to just take a few notes so that you would have everything all set, so in case there are questions. So our first presenter is Dean College. When you come up, please give your name, and your, here he comes. Your name and address.
Debbie, you might want to just indicate for the record that Megan is on Zoom as well. Megan McCarthy is on Zoom.
Megan, oh, I'm
She's
sorry.
participating on
Okay.
Zoom, just for the record.
Megan McCarthy, one of our members, was not able to make it tonight because of COVID, and we all thought this was just about over, but I guess it isn't. So she will be on Zoom and be able to ask and answer any questions. Okay, good to see you. Okay, so we have Dean College, and go right ahead, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, Debbie. Thanks so much.
Hi.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having us back again. My name is Sandra Kane. I thank you again for having us a few weeks back. I brought some friends with me tonight. Sitting to my right is Mark Boyce. Mark has been affiliated with Dean College for over 20 years on our Board of Trustees and has been the chairman of our board for the past 13 years and is currently acting as our interim president. So I'm happy to introduce Mark to you tonight. He'll give you a few words about the plan and tell you a little bit about what we have in store.
Yes, thank you for having us this evening. We really appreciate it. As Sandra said, I've been coming to Franklin for over 20 years. I always enjoy my trips. As I say to the graduates of Dean each year, it's one of my favorite days of the year to actually come to Franklin, see the beautiful town. I love smelling the lilacs around town and seeing the graduates and seeing how Dean is a part of the community and the community is a part of Dean. And I'm here tonight to tell you that we are very excited about what we're proposing, and we're going to do things a little bit differently this evening. We have actually, after the last meeting, Sandra met Brad Canford, and we have decided that we are going to combine our proposals and come as one entity to you with a combined proposal for the Franklin Dean Gateway. Dean has always been in need of somebody who will actually provide a lot of the construction, and we have had many great conversations with Brad since your last meeting and actually took him on a tour around Dean this afternoon, and so he is now going to join our proposal.
Yes, thanks, Mark. Very excited. Also, the other good thing about that is at the end of this meeting, I had 20 minutes for Camford, so we're going to give you back your 20 minutes at the end as a presenter.
Nice.
That's it. Saving time right off the bat. So, yeah, sorry, I guess for the,
Expectations.
yeah, right here. Here we go.
Only if you keep your deal with no tomatoes.
Guaranteed.
So, yeah, very excited.
Yes. So, as Sandra took you through our original proposal, we are very much about a multi-use space that actually combines the resources of Franklin and Dean to have a great new entryway to the town of Franklin as part of its arts and cultural district. It would be a multi-use facility that would combine both educational spaces, recreation spaces, and commercial spaces to actually open up the area and fit very nicely in as the entryway to Dean and to Franklin. And as I said, it's kind of a mutual kind of partnership in that we want Franklin to be successful. We want to have good optics for our students that are coming, good optics for your residents that are coming, and actually have something that works for the town of Franklin and for its residents, such that we can provide new opportunities, new ways to work with the town in terms of educational spaces, continuing educational spaces, theater spaces, potentially museum and gallery spaces, as well as more innovative multi-use spaces. And that follows very much with what Brad put in his proposal and some of the diagrams and options that he actually has shown to you as well. Okay. So I'd be happy to take any questions. I think we answered a lot of the questions last time, and I think it was pretty clear in terms of our ability to be flexible. We're going to be here for a long time. We've been here for over 160 years. We're not going anyplace. We are looking at investing more in the college and the community, attracting more students, looking at more possible construction opportunities to be more innovative, looking at how we can get our students and our faculty and more involved in the town. For example, this afternoon, our VP of Academic Affairs was meeting with your superintendent of schools, looking at ways that we can partner, and we need more space to be able to do that. We need classrooms, we need theater spaces, and we need retail and commercial ventures that would go with our sports management, with our venue management, with our entertainment management type programs. So I think it works out to be a very great partnership for the town.
Okay.
Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'll just after kind of getting a very in-depth tour and going through Dean, I think being a Franklin resident, I've never actually had this in-depth of a tour before. So, you know, I was surprised at just the amount of I guess the minimal amount of space they had for everything we talked about with recreation and that. And I think a big part of having the community be more involved with Dean, this is a big part of that, having more space. You would think that there's just all kinds of space everywhere and everyone could come and share with Dean, and I'm sure they would love to do more of that. This is really an opportunity for that, to get them more space and something that we can share with the community. So, you know, just really made a lot of sense on that side, and yeah, just a natural fit. So Mark said I'm happy as far as answer any questions on the development side as well.
I just want to say, having lived here my entire life, here in Franklin, and meeting Brad and seeing that he's been here his whole life, we just had a real renewed sense for, you know, coming together with the best of Franklin behind us and working together. And then, you know, Dean, of course, has been here a lot longer than me, been here since 1865, and really been part of Franklin that whole entire time. And to come together with Franklin people and Dean College, we were very excited today, the three of us, when we met, about the things that we think we can do together for the community that we are attached to in so many different ways, having grown up here.
And having gone to, you know, I didn't go to Dean, okay? But I'll tell you the story of how I got attached to Dean. The former president of Dean, several years ago, who was, you know, loved, hated, was actually my freshman dean of students at Colgate. Okay? She was as tough as nails then, too, just so you all know. All right? Nothing changed, all right? But what was very interesting and what I love about Franklin is both when I went undergraduate to Colgate and I went to graduate school at Dartmouth, the little towns, they were so part of the college experience, and they worked extremely well together. And that's what I always tried to get her to do here. Wasn't very successful, but that's what I always tried to get her to do here, because I reminded her of how important it was that the town and the college worked together for the betterment of both. And that experience is what I hope Dean will now be able to bring by doing something with days there. Okay. Questions?
Okay, let's open it up. Great.
And yes, I did go to Dean as well, so. I just had a quick question. Your ratios, educational space to recreation to arts and center, retail, and would you be doing separate housing on the back side of the site?
Those are all kind of things that we're going to take a look at from a cost perspective and, you know, sort of the return on investment, I think, to see, right?
Yeah, that was kind of the rendering that we submitted. It was basically that showed the school in the front. So, you know, if we keep the school, that'd be some place that we do the recreation, the arts, as we talked about, the redo, and then the backside of the lot would be green space, and there'd be a mixed-use development there. Kind of two smaller buildings, just the way we had it planned, but that would have commercial, you know, downstairs and some type of housing like we discussed last time. What that housing is, I think, a little as we go down the path here, and this gets a little further, as we kind of see what some of the, you know, the parameters will be and what they are. That'll help answer a lot of those questions too. But yes, it'd be kind of mixed use.
You weren't going to do any kind of a presentation
No, we can, I mean, if we wanted to pull up the rendering that we had.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea, because there are people
Yeah.
through Zoom that are not, you know, weren't with us last time.
Sure.
I mean, part of the issue is, I think at the last meeting, the board said they didn't want presentations. Am I mistaken?
And the materials
It's
are
just
available.
the materials were already there, and we've passed them out, and I think at the last time, nobody prepared presentations, because we specifically told them the board didn't want to spend hours doing presentations. So,
Oh, I don't recall that we said we didn't wanna.
I mean, the materials are available on the website as well.
Right.
You didn't change or modify the
You
presentation.
didn't,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. And the Dean presentation was just a PDF, and then I think Brad's
Yeah.
was the.
Which is why I think it works well together. Our concept in words matches what basically his in visuals said, so.
I just wonder for the people that didn't see the meeting last time, they're at home saying, oh, well, what is this gonna look like and whatever.
We can certainly bring that up.
They can go online, yes. but-
they're already online.
They're
I
already
mean, I could
online.
put up their RFP on the screen,
Why don't you put it?
I think the committee's gotta weigh in. Do you wanna see all the materials? Like, are you guys, did we say this at the last meeting?
I think
so
the
others
drawing,
can
A
see
rendering is a good,
the drawing is a good place
Yeah.
to start, and we go from there.
Sorry.
And we'll certainly allow anybody else here tonight to do the same.
Can I sit down, Jane?
No, go to camp. First they just
they have no idea, and especially now that they want to combine things.
Well, it has to go to RFP anyway.
Yeah,
Exactly.
We're all in the same. Davis there. Camford? Brett?
Yep.
Yeah. If you want to scroll, you gotta watch it.
Oh, okay. It's kind of pressure on this.
Go ahead. Okay, Brad can take you through, we have a couple different renderings that
Okay.
he can show you that are
Thank you.
options, so for
Okay.
those of you who are online, okay?
So yeah, so in this rendering, that's the existing school, Davis there. And really, where the baseball field is in the back, you can kind of see there's like a little theater with some seating, kind of a green space. And kind of along the right side, as the drive goes now, we kept it the same. So we just added more parking along to the back exit where it is now. Probably a little more parking behind Davis there as well. And then you'll see two buildings, I don't have the coordinates to me, but to the upper left, those would be mixed-use buildings. So those would be new buildings. And the whole thought process was the lower floor there, whatever that may be of a commercial space. Cafes, some place for people to go, a restaurant, somewhere to eat, and then have the whole green space in front of it. So we tried to capture as much green space as we could, because you do still have a lot of building with the Davis there and with these, and just a meeting ground for everyone, whether it's just to go to a theater show or a concert or something that's there to bring people together. So again, sense of community, bringing that to everyone into one spot. And there's enough space to put some parking in there. I'm not exactly sure, but I think I had about 130 cars that I added to this. So we felt it was adequate space. Those buildings aren't, kind of the way that they're sized. There's probably 30 to 40 units in them. I say if they had like living in them and the downstairs commercial. So it's not, these big buildings. So yeah, I don't know if anyone has any questions in particular, just.
So Brad, does this current proposal then eliminate the ball field and the current playground?
Yes. And we just added back so we, obviously without having a baseball field there, a big part of this was to keep as much grass as possible. There's probably a half acre of grass, I would say, left in there, which is a pretty big green space for this type of a property. I think most developers would find a way to fill that with a building. So, yeah.
I guess, the baseball dad in me is concerned about losing a ball field in town when we already don't have enough.
I just came from Fletcher Field. So,
No, and I just say that with all
yeah, I agree.
sincerity, that
I agree.
We do not have enough. And we'll talk about the arts in a second, but I would love it if that could be considered as you move forward. I know we're not at RFP yet and all of that stuff, but it's a beautiful playground there that the community uses, that a lot of people walk to, and the ball
Yeah.
field is always busy. So
Yep.
if there was a way to incorporate those into your plan, I think the community would respond better
Okay.
than seeing it just sort of knocked down.
Yep.
My question for you about the actual building, because we know that's where the gigantic money for infrastructure improvements is, and we talked at the last meeting that you were, now that you're merging sources, you're comfortable with going forward with like the lease option that we talked about and actually having the money to be able to renovate that building to code? Because that's the big question here.
I think that's gonna depend, and I'll let Mark weigh in too, but I think that's gonna be a little bit dependent if, you know, when this RFP comes out, if it's, we leasing the whole space, is there a portion of maybe the building that will get sold that has a deed restriction and you lease the back land? I think you can go a lot of different ways with that, and not just one blanket lease, because I think, as in the last meeting when Jamie was mentioning, if the town leases a building, that probably adds a little more, you know, strings to everything. Even though we renovate and we do it, it's still under the ownership of the town. So after the meeting, I was thinking about, well, how could that do? So we talked a little bit of maybe it would be a sale with a restriction and a lease, or I think that'll be helpful, I didn't know, to me and to kind of, you know, our team of when that comes out. I don't know if it's that cut and dry, I guess,
Okay.
if that answers it.
Yeah, I think we have to be pretty flexible.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I would say to add to that too, because we are very concerned about the recreation spaces, you know, as Brad knows, we don't have a lot of recreation space. We have a lot down at Longley, okay? But one of the thoughts that we may put into this is we may use some of the Dean land that we have back there, okay, to provide more recreation space, to do some additional things. And those are some of the things that when we get to an RFP stage, we'll take a look and see, to make sure we get all the uses out of the combined area, which is, again, something that we can do because we have the property adjacent to it. Okay.
So, and this will really go for, is it okay that I keep
Go right ahead,
talking?
go right ahead.
We had a lot of feedback over the last few weeks from artists in the community, particularly the Franklin Art Association, looking for gallery space and what I would call maker space, right? Like some place where artists can go, perhaps rent it by the hour, perhaps rent it for a particular time, because that's what's lacking here in town, and especially the gallery space. So I know there was talk, I think, in all of the presentations last week, there seemed to be a common thread of maybe using that upstairs beautiful library for something. So I would just encourage you to weave that into your proposal if at all possible, keeping in mind that maybe it's not necessarily to the Franklin Art Association specifically, maybe but you know, as long as it was gallery space that the town could use and we could figure that out. I also am excited that you're partnering, but I wonder if this is on great timing given the very sad circumstances with our school systems right now, and given the lack of funding to appropriately give the music and theater and art and all of the things that are proposed to be cut. So I wonder if in your conversations with the superintendent and as you move forward, if there can be programming for the kids of Franklin, and that also exposes them to the college, and it's a true partnership. I think that's a win-win, and I think parents will be very excited to know they're really bummed out that they're losing it at the school, but if they know that it was something nearby and it was affordable and it was by collegiate level professors and entertainers and artists, that's just an awesome thing to be able to offer them.
Yeah, that's exactly what Scott Sibley did this afternoon. He and I talked about it before he went over and met with him this afternoon. And they got a lot of creative proposals out of that, particularly around the arts, okay? And it goes both ways too, because as you know, you can't afford to have some of those teachers we can hire. We can give them jobs to be adjuncts or full-time professors so that we can enhance and grow our programs, do more of the AP type courses that, you know, you are gonna have to cut out and get your students, you know, the college credit that they need.
When we
So.
did the Look, Listen, and Feel art tour a year and a half ago, and Ken was very much a part of that. Like, the council had reps go out and meet with people throughout the art community, and one of one of the common things we heard was collaboration. And we just heard over and over and over again, like, you have all this amazing talent at the school, and what do those people do when they're not teaching? You know, is there a way that they could be helping, lending their talents in some way, whether it's for pay or for volunteer? But we just kept hearing, like, there's an opportunity to do more. And it's actually in the arts and culture final report too, so, which I think is online. So if you guys wanted to kind of tap into that as you're gonna refine your RFP, I think that would be fantastic. So,
Yeah.
thank you, Madam Chair.
No, thank you. Roberta?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just from a little historical perspective, the Franklin Art Association truly has been cut out of a couple of different spots, and for those of you who've been here all your lives, you know, one of them was down by what is now Walgreens. It was the Four Corner School. There was going to be an art gallery there, and it didn't happen. The second place was on Emmons Street, where the municipal building was for a while. It's now been a retail space. So I think that just to have you consider that, which you've already said that you would, to have them get the space that they need. They have a hanging system. They have wonderful artwork. They have a tremendous cadre of artists, and it would be great to just see them have some type of a home in whatever space they could. So.
Yeah, it would go very well. I mean, we look at we call them entertainment management type programs. Entertainment these days can be many different things. It could be managing a sports venue. It could be managing a theater. It could be managing a museum or an art gallery. So all of these kind of spaces provide educational and experiential opportunities for our students and provide something back to the town as well.
Exactly. It's a great fit.
Thank you,
you.
Roberta. Anyone else?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Chris?
You did touch on it a little bit, but with that rendering and some of the other renderings that we'll see or to speak about, I think one of the pieces of the puzzle that could be solved is recreating the playground space, which isn't lost. I actually came from that playground playing with my kids to come here. It's having the opportunity on the old schoolhouse that was in the back corner on School Street. Is that where that was? There's that kind of weird elevated area, which doesn't look like it's captured in your parking and maybe in others as well, but that might be an opportunity to borrow some land from the neighboring parcel or the other projects that may not have that benefit. That little sliver, you could recreate a playground. The ball field, love to keep it. I think that ball field needs some love in general. So if there's an opportunity to replicate it somewhere else in town to garner greater benefit to a development, I think that's a great opportunity. But the playground, I think, being its proximity there is a good
great.
keep. And I think overall, not only for your proposal, but for all of them, looking at this kind of like a host agreement type situation where maybe there's a lease with the land, but also there's a certain number of programming that'll be offered to the public, whether free or low cost, or availability to take space within the building, whether it's, local community meetings, et cetera, for free or low cost. Some of those things that are stipulated as part of the development agreement to ensure that space, whether it's arts or just general meeting or anyone that wants to use it, because the library has a small meeting room. And it's difficult to kind of functionally utilize that for some groups. So having some more space that's available that town people can really leverage, I think would be a huge advantage as well.
Good points, yes. Anyone else on the council? What about in the audience? Would anyone like to speak about this or have a question? No? And
One on Zoom land. Council.
in Zoom land, do we have someone out there?
Yep.
Mark
Amy's-
Minicali.
Amy's letting him in right now.
Oh, Mark?
Yep.
I can't let a meeting go by without saying something. Hi, everyone. And thanks for letting me express some views. Chris, I just wanted to mention to you that elevated spot on the old Reese School playground actually used to be a playground. It was the girls' playground. And for 4 years, it was drilled into me that the boys are not allowed up there. So I still feel guilty if I ever step up those steps. But it was a playground. It was a playground at that time. It had swing set and things up there. So that could make a nice playground. I love the idea of a collaborative project between Dean College and one of the private developers. I had spoken with President Elmore, like probably several of you have as well, over the last several months, about his desire to see this sort of collaborative space between the town and the college, and I think it makes really a lot of sense. It reminds me of some of these collaborative spaces that industry has used to serve as business incubators, and maybe that's a similar model to what we could do here, and think of it maybe more as an educational incubator where it encourages collaboration between the college and the Franklin Public School system as an opportunity for more students to learn in different ways, and for opportunities for public school teachers as well as some of the college teachers and professors to collaborate as well for the good of the community. So I'm excited about it. I am kind of curious, for the Dean team, how did you choose this particular developer to want to work with? And I also wanted to support the idea of an art area, and I would suggest maybe thinking about art walls. Wouldn't necessarily need to be dedicated spaces. It could be a way to enhance pre-existing spaces, for example, and add more functionality to them, and give the local artists a chance to display their work. So I'm just curious, and also curious about the ball fields. I also think it's a great opportunity. If Dean doesn't need that sort of tiered outdoor performance space, I think it is a nice opportunity to retain some ball field use for the town. So curious about thoughts on those two things, the ball field use as well as why did the Dean team choose this developer to work with?
Sure, very, very good questions, and I will tell you that I'll start with Brad. You know, Sandra, longtime resident, she does her homework. And she met with Brad after the last meeting. I listened. I was on Zoom at that time in Florida, and I said, you know, we ought to go talk to this guy. Our proposals sound very, very similar. And so Sandra went and talked to him. We did our homework. I met with Brad, and we just kind of hit it off and thought that this would be a great win for the town and for us to work together. Because it's not just this. There are other things that we can do with Brad as well that will help the town and help Dean beyond Davis Thayer. So it was really a great match. You know. And in terms of, you know, what you said about innovative in terms of educational, that's what we're all about doing and moving forward to. We want to go beyond just the traditional four-year college degree, and to be able to offer more innovative programs as they're going on throughout the world. I mean, education costs a lot of money. We want to find ways to make it more economical and take a lot of less time. And I've said this, I'm sure Sandra knows, I say it in board meetings all the time. Not everybody needs to go to college, but everybody needs to have something that they can do, and they need to be educated and supported in being able to do that. And so what we're looking at is how strategically we can not only continue to offer great four-year degree programs in relevant careers with the kind of support that is unmatched anyplace else, but also have the ability to offer continuing education or different kind of education courses for those people who might not want or need to get a college education today. And so a space like this, which would be very much an incubator with very flexible space, because we were talking about everything we have with space. We have 23 classrooms. Okay? Not a lot of classrooms. You would have thought we had a lot more classrooms, all right? So this is very important for us to be able to offer some more opportunities to have new ways to offer education. But they have to be kind of flexible spaces. Okay?
Mark, I also
So I don't know.
Mark, I just want to jump in and say, we had a long, quite a few conversations with Brad, and he has a very similar, like-minded vision that we have here at the college. So again, this isn't a project for us. We're not doing this to make money. We're doing this, to enhance, the spaces that we have and enhance our partnership with the town. So it was important to us to have someone that was local, that had a very like-minded vision, that was interested in, giving back to the community. So there were a lot of things beyond the fact that he has a premier, construction company, and it's been very successful, and innovative in the work that he's done. So that was a big part of it for us as well.
And the other thing, to answer your question, Mark, about the recreational piece, again, these are the drawings that Brad presented last week, but these are the discussions we've already begun to have about what could we do differently with this to incorporate some of the property that Dean has, as I said before, to make it more recreational, because we need recreation space as well, okay, that we could use with the town. When we get to an RFP, I'm sure this will look very different.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And as
Thank
you're aware,
you.
right, this property borders our property, right? So what you're looking at, if you can see the picture, is the parking lot that Brad talked about is adjacent to the Dean parking lot. So where that little strip of grass is on the other side is Dean.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. Thank you all three very much. I think it's a great, a very interesting and good proposal.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. All set? We're all set with questions here? Thank you.
Okay.
Oops,
Well, thank you
I
very
have a
much.
hand up over here. Go right ahead.
I'm Christine Lambsbow.
Can you go to the mic, please?
Oh, come over here?
Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment because I've lived here since 1977. I did for a while live in Amherst. I went up to get my graduate degree there. And Amherst, I was really able to be part of the art scene there, and Northampton. And it's thriving. It has made that town, those two towns, put them on the map, as well as Mocha up in North Adams. With that education, it's combining the cultures of the towns, this town, with education. And artists do this all the time. Artists are the people who can put a visual on a lot of things and help people. You're talking about a gateway. A gateway would be very welcoming with the use of art, and art that changes. So it isn't just a gallery space. We desperately need a gallery space. We need retail area where we can sell the art, but we also need to be able to demonstrate it and function for the children, for the adults in this town. There's many wonderful artists who are very willing to show people what they do and how they do it. And I just want you to understand we would need some space for that, larger space than just the wall space of display. We really need to be a functioning group and thriving, and the town will gain from that, as Amherst and Northampton have. You have gallery walks. The restaurants love that. You have open studio days and nights, the galleries, all functioning together. So I just want to let you know there's a thriving community here that can really help. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else out there? No? Well, I think we are all set then. Thank you so much for coming forward tonight,
Thank you
showing
very
us the pictures and that, and your thoughts. We look forward to talking with you again.
Okay, thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, next one on the agenda here is Penrose LLC.
So I did prepare a presentation, even though it was said no presentation. It's just pictures of our projects.
Scroll through wherever you need
So I have some handouts
Great.
for the,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
and I'll try to see. I did email it to, I guess, I don't know if there's a way to show that on the screen for folks who
Who did you email it to?
I actually emailed it to Pam because she was the one that I've been talking to thus far.
Just, start, let me try to dig out the email and see if I
Okay,
can find
great,
it.
thank you. So, thanks for taking the time tonight to hear about our thoughts for what the Thayer School can look like. I look forward to this conversation because one of our goals is to better understand the town's priorities for the site, since there seems to be a lot of desires, and I think listening to the previous conversation, that was really helpful just as a starting point. But my name's Carmen Chung, I'm from Penrose, and with me tonight is Charlie Adams, who's also from Penrose. Our office is at 50 Milk Street in Boston, and Andrew Stebbins from the architectural team address.
We're 50 Commandant's Way in Chelsea, Massachusetts.
Great. So just to start, the second page of the handout is just starting with the mission of who Penrose is and what we do and how we do it. And it says here that our mission is to build high-quality multifamily housing that meets the needs of the communities that we work with. And I really underlined high-quality multifamily housing because we're not only developers, but we're owners and operators of multifamily housing. So when we build, we have no plans to sell, our plan is to build it and to be a part of the community and to be here for the long run. And for that reason, we really care about how it's built. Everything from what kind of flooring we use, what kind of siding we use. We care about not only how it looks when it opens, but 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line, which is why not only do we have a development company, but we also have an affiliated property management company. So everything that we design has their input from day one, and all that feedback loop helps us make sure that we design high quality housing, sustainable housing, and housing that actually meets the needs of the residents that live there. So going on to the next page, our starting point for these projects is always about what the community wants, because we think that the most successful projects are projects that are as integrated with the community as possible, and which is why in the request for information, a lot of the examples that we provided are examples that we think what we can deliver for the town of Franklin and what we can do with the site. And it's all about balancing what the priorities the town has, like preserving the ball field, creating art space, and figuring out how we can balance those to create the best product that we can for the town. So as a starting point for us in our response, we proposed housing because we are housing developers and we think that this site would be great site for housing and balance that with some of the other desires that the town has. So we can, the next two slides are just a little bit more background about us and about our management company. Our management company has 35 years of experience, and Penrose itself has over 50 years of experience developing housing and have a good amount of projects in Massachusetts. There's a map in one of the slides, and the purple is projects that are actually historic adaptive reuse projects. And the blue are new construction projects. So we do both, but we do have a lot of experience with projects like this. Just in Auburn, which is not too far away, we developed two former elementary schools, Julie Bancroft and Mary D. Stone, into housing with space that the community is always welcome to utilize. On this, starting on the pictures, there's a lot of pictures of both Mary D. Stone and Julie Bancroft, and in both projects we preserved the original schoolhouse and we added a new construction addition to it. And the reason why we did that and attached it so closely together is because these older schools don't have accessibility usually. There's no elevator access, so that meaning the library actually doesn't have an elevator bringing anyone that has accessibility needs to the second floor. So by attaching the new construction to the original schoolhouse, we were able to, we would be able to make the school accessible. Let's see. So if you just flip through the images, we preserve a lot of the interior historic elements, anything ranging from chalkboards to original doors, to original terrazzo floors. What we would do is take a classroom and turn the original floor plate of the classroom into a unit. Usually those are actually very well sized for 1-bedroom units. We would take the original flooring and refinish it, put in historically very compatible windows, all new kind of heating and cooling systems, and then we would be able to turn a lot of the classrooms into apartments. So in these schools, there weren't any large kind of spaces that the town really wanted to preserve. They just wanted to preserve the original schoolhouse. There wasn't like a large auditorium, a large library in Mary D. Stone or Julia Bancroft. But if you kind of scroll, not scroll, but flip over to one of the later images, the Pride is 100,000 square foot historic school in Boston that is actually wrapping up construction Friday. Don't jinx myself. And that had over 10,000 square foot of community space that we preserved. Because there was a large gymnasium, there was a large auditorium. I have pictures of those spaces before we started construction in the handouts I provided, and we're able to preserve the gymnasium for a nonprofit that's a partner in the project to program it in collaboration with the local YMCA that's nearby, with the Menino Art Center that's a block away. And we're able to preserve two of the classrooms also as arts classroom, continuing learning kind of spaces, because this project is a 74-unit senior housing project. In addition to that, in the community in Hyde Park, there was a nonprofit that was a reenactment group for the 54th Massachusetts Regiment. They didn't have a home, and we heard about that, and we decided to create space in the building for them so they have permanent display space and that they can utilize the former gym that's going to be a new large multi-purpose space for community use. They can use that to practice their mustering, practice their all that they do to reenact, do reenactments. And then the last project I wanted to show is actually the Horace H. Strong School, and that, similar to Franklin, is in a very strong, vibrant arts community. And for that reason, in addition to actually preserving the auditorium in this school, we actually, in one of the last renderings, were able to create mural space on the exterior of the building to incorporate the arts of the local community. So that's just some examples of projects that we have been able to deliver for the communities that wanted to preserve the existing kind of schoolhouses as assets for the community. I think, just looking at my notes here, one of the last slides is also about image that I took from the Franklin Master Plan, actually, which was an inventory and assessment, and talked about the resident occupations and earnings. So it's one of the last pages. And the reason why I pulled this up is that Penrose is also a developer of mixed income housing. When we build housing, we would like to say that anyone can live here. because we have housing that is at a range of incomes as well as market rate units, and we're experienced in building those mixed income communities. And in thinking about arts and culture, I think oftentimes communities that are trying to support the arts are also trying to support those artists. And having housing for those individuals is a way to support that. In reading the master plan also, it seems like there's a need for senior housing for seniors who are aging in place, to have accessible housing that's appropriate, that's right-sized for them. So this is an opportunity to do that too. So looking forward to hearing the committee's thoughts on housing for this site and whether that's appropriate. And yeah.
No.
To talk.
I just see if Charlie had anything else to add.
She did it, she covered everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Council, council, I'm so used to saying council. Committee, any questions or, okay, we'll start down the end here. Chris?
Thank you, Cheryl. So this project that you guys proposed seems to be almost wholly residentially focused. It sounds like there may be some opportunity for commercial. Is that an appetite that you have to make the Davis Thayer building more of a mixed use or more commercially based, where residential could be an additional component with additional buildings, or is it 90% residential is the goal for your proposals?
So I would say in the existing school, since we would want to preserve the gymnasium and we would want to preserve the library, those are definitely opportunities to have another use. And we would welcome any collaborations with the Franklin Arts Association or any other organizations to utilize that for another use, because we wouldn't cut that up into units, and we think that would be great to make those spaces vibrant by having an actual user for them, and we would welcome that.
Great, thank you.
I'm just curious, how do you come across properties that interest you, and what interested you about Davis Thayer?
So I think the first piece is we love old schools. This is my fifth school actually in the last 6 or 7 years. When we did the ribbon cutting for the Julie Bancroft and Mary D. Stone schools, there were some residents that had moved in, and when we asked them how many people went to school here or how many people taught here, so many people raised their hands. And I think when we look for projects that we think that we can have a lot of community support on, and that can be integrated with its community, because we don't like building on an island. We want these projects to be vibrant, to be utilized. There's another project out on the Cape where the Girl Scouts use our community building. People get off the rail trail and use the pocket park that's on our site. So we like that there can be a lot of opportunities for the community to be part of the project, because in today's day and age, I think when construction costs are high, when interest rates are high, when everything is kind of making development difficult, having projects that are done in partnership with the town or with the communities that we build in is what helps us get to the finish line. And I mean, some of the other obvious factors is just when I came to the site walk, I took the train from Boston actually, got off the train, walked to the school, and was able to stop by at the coffee shop right when I got off the train. And just that experience in itself made me feel like this is a community that like we want to be a part of.
If I would just add to that, I mean, it's a gorgeous building, right? And so like, and when Carmen found it and showed it to me, she's like, this is just like Mary D. Stone and Julia Bancroft and the Horace Strong School, that we could really do something really special. We see these, I mean, these are assets, these are historic icons of a community, right? They're monuments in a community, and they've outlived their useful life. And so what we try to do, following up on, you know, what Carmen was echoing, is that, you know, we put these back in use, in a different use, but for another 100 years, and it still serves the community. We bring the community into these buildings. In the case of the Mary D. Stone School, which she was referring to also, someone I think had said there wasn't good space for meetings. Like, so the town actually asked us to do some, well, our building is all accessible, their building wasn't. So the town has actually asked us to use some of their space there for meetings and things like that. So they really, while it is housing, it's still a community resource and still a place where the community can come and visit. So.
Then the other aspect of it, can you hear me?
Yeah.
The other great aspect of projects like this is, our office has done over 350 historic and adaptive reuse. Actually, my first foray with Penrose was a school in Pennsylvania, the Felton Law, so it was a great project. And we have done about nearly 40 of them. And the great part about reusing the building is it's real sustainable design. So our founder used to like to say that we were all about sustainability before sustainability was cool, because our history back 53 years ago was always rooted in saving. There was never an old building that the founder did not love. There's a lot of embodied carbon in the school, to recreate and create mixed income housing like this. It's not very easy, especially these days with the way that the metrics are difficult to make work. And so these projects that can leverage tax credits and whether historic or low income tax credits to help, there are ways to get quality housing to market, which is a very, very, as everybody knows, is a very, very important subject, and something that we're very passionate about, and that's why we love working with Penrose as well. We've got over a half dozen projects with them, and I think we're very aligned in our goals. For us, it's a lot about creating a community, coming in the community. It's a great site. The ability of the residents to be able to walk to a lot of amenities is another really attractive piece. And I do have to commend the maintenance staff there. The building. A lot of times we get get into these buildings, we can't even see the whole building. It's not even safe. So just want to commend the group that's keeping that building in good shape, because that's a very important metric. So
yes,
we're very excited about the opportunity to take a look at this.
I was shocked when I walked in the building and it's still being heated and cooled. That shows how much care the town has for this building, because we walk into these buildings a lot of times, even in the city of Boston. It's been a few years and the paint's peeling, the water is dripping. No building likes being vacant for very long.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I know you guys didn't get to talk a lot last time, so thank you for coming and showing us so much about what you propose. Given what you've heard, that the hope is for the town to be able to maintain the ownership of the parcel and do a long-term lease. But I'm just curious, given your housing model and some of the experiences with these other projects, is that something you would entertain, or do you normally buy the parcel outright from the town and then work with the town to build the housing?
We have no issue with doing a long-term ground lease for the land. We do it all the time.
Okay, that's good to hear. That's all I needed, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All set? Down here?
Oh, good, thank you.
Good?
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your
Thank you.
presentation.
Appreciate the time.
Oh, I'm sorry, hold on. We want to go out into the audience.
Sure.
Any questions or concerns? No?
Anybody online?
All
Oh, yeah.
right, what about Zoom?
Take a guess.
land?
Mark is,
Mark.
Where's Mark?
hold on, I'm allowing you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I just have a question. I'm looking over the original proposal, and thank you for being here tonight and presenting it further. But in your original proposal, I think you stated that you could be flexible. You could do 60 to 80 units of mixed income housing, and then you talk about new construction addition would allow you to make accessibility improvements. And in the past, many of the former schools you've redeveloped have been restricted as senior housing, but then you're open to discussions with the town whether to desire senior residential or leave it open to a general population. So I guess my question is, it seems to me that depending upon the proposed use of the buildings would create some very different financial pictures of the kinds of income that the building could generate. And I'm wondering, you know, how would that potentially work on a project such as ours?
So the methods in which we would finance this, it's exactly how we did Mary D. Stone, exactly how we did Julie Bancroft, that's why we believe that we can make a project between 60 to 80 units work. And the 60 number is really because we like to staff it with a full-time property manager, and we like to staff it with a full-time maintenance manager, which means that for that scale, we want at least 60 units, but obviously with more units, you have more scale and it's more efficient. But from a kind of number of units perspective, we think that a minimum of 60 works. And from the point about whether it's a general population or whether it's a senior population, I think there's enough demand that's not going to really impact the marketability. Either way, it's going to work. So that's why we were flexible in the proposal about the number of units and the target population, because we could revise the pro forma to match that.
Okay, thank you. And just one other question. So the proposal also suggested a new construction, I assume a whole new building in addition to the building that's already there. So how do you envision how much of that existing green space would the new building take, and how much remaining green space would you imagine would be left for recreation purposes?
Yeah, so at Mary D. Stone, Julie Bancroft actually, sorry to keep referencing the other project, but there's a lot of similarities. There was actually, that parcel had a ball field on it also. So what the town did was that they split up the ball field parcel from the kind of building and associated area we needed for parking parcel and split it into two parcels. So we were able to retain the ball field there. And the reason for that is that we kept the new construction addition to it very close to the original building. So there are ways to attach the new construction addition to the historic building in a configuration that would allow for us to preserve the ball field. We did some kind of schematic yield studies internally just to confirm that we believe that that's feasible. It'll be tight because with a ball field, with those, the outfield is kind of pretty big even though the infield is small. But we think that there is opportunity to preserve the ball field. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We're all set here. And no one else from Zoom?
No.
No? Okay. Oh, wait a second, someone out here wants to speak now.
Hi, Ralph Cohen, 36 Pearl Street, right around the corner from Davis Thayer. My daughter went there. I was wondering, in the design, have you taken into account the traffic flow, the increased traffic flow? If you're going to have 60, 80 more units, are you going to have construction for different exits from that parking area? Is it part of the design?
So that's part of the discussion about whether it's like a senior or general population. So for the a lot of our projects that are more senior, we usually have a 1-to-1 ratio, and that meets the need. And compared to a former school, whenever we do traffic studies for these projects, the peak number of cars coming to the building is much more kind of flat compared to a school for a residential. So Given that it had operated as a school for a long time, we don't think that it's going to add significant, or it's going to add any, or it'll probably reduce the peak kind of traffic issues, and that a one-to-one ratio is particular for a senior project, and especially this as being a TOD, being so close to the train project, would be more than adequate in our experience.
Makes sense. Okay. Everyone is all set? We thank you very much for your
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. The last one for this evening is HFA and TMC Properties. Yep,
If you
thank
need to
you.
scroll down one or two,
Just use the arrows.
sensitive computers, just these two.
All right, thank you.
Hello.
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 So my name is Sharon Charwick. I'm a resident of Franklin. I did have the opportunity to speak with you guys at the last meeting. And so I'm here to represent HFA. We're located in Mosley Mills. Our office in Franklin has about 60 architects and engineers associated with the Franklin office. As an organization, we're about 400 architects, engineers across all disciplines. We partnered with, I have Matt Clark here with me, we partnered with TMC. We've done a lot of projects together. I'll let you
Sure.
give an introduction.
Hi, my name is Matthew Clark with TMC Properties. I live locally, and we have a business here in Franklin and Forge Parkway. We are commercial and residential real estate developers, and we partnered with HFA on this project because of our connection to the community, and we like the historical component of the building, and we did a lot of research in the community, and we heard what was important to the community. As much as we would like to, and we did provide an option B to kind of maximum build the site, what we heard is it's really important that the town maintain ownership of this property. It's a jewel in the town. It's an asset that many generations from now will want to possibly do different things with. So you don't want to lose this asset in the town, and the town wants to maintain rights to the property. It's one thing to do a ground lease, but to actually have rights and decisions about programs and future advances and developments of the property. So we heard that that's very important. The community desires and needs, it's desperate for maintaining green spaces and public gathering areas and municipal sports spaces such that already exist at the site. So we put a major emphasis on maintaining the existing character of the site while honoring the heritage, the tradition, and the legacy of the Davis-Thayer educational drive and history.
Yeah.
So I can let Sharon speak a little bit about
Yeah,
the structure.
I'll talk you through what we put in the presentation here. So this first component obviously is a site plan. You can see the original Davis-Thayer footprint, which we're maintaining. So this specific approach is adaptive reuse of the existing building. So we dubbed it the Davis-Thayer Center for the Arts, and we looked at the whole site, and as we heard from you guys, and one of our strong reactions to the proposal was to maintain the facade of the building, preserve the building and renovate it, maintain the use of a playground, a ballpark, and really what we wanted to do is bring a lot of activity to the site, really make it a space for the whole community and make it more vibrant. So you can see on the site plan, we have, we're really focused on landscaping the front yard and making an area for art and sculpture. We've kind of showed a proposal where we maybe would renovate the ballpark and the playground, maybe change the orientation a little bit. So, but definitely a new playground, have new basketball court, have a space for events and food trucks, maintain the service loading off of Union Street. And we are also suggesting that it would be possible to maybe bring a new building to the site, possibly Franklin Rec, in the back space there as a small two-story building, and again, bring them closer to the ballpark. I'll go very carefully down to some of the renderings that we wanted to show you. So this is a concept about, again, activating the front lawn and really making it a vibrant space for the community. So again, you see the historic nature of the building. Architecturally, what we've done is just kind of put like a sign on the corner element there and put this really grand balcony. The program elements that we felt the community could use that would really bring activation on the first floor would be a restaurant, which would have a large outdoor patio, which you're seeing covered by the balcony up above. That restaurant may also own a small speakeasy in the basement and may operate, either them or maybe another entity would operate the two-story function hall that has those beautiful arched windows. And those would have access out onto the new balcony. So with the sculpture in the front yard, the patio, the balcony, we really felt that this would be a space that people would want to spend time and bring a lot of activity to the site. Some other images that we showed, another great feature is performance space. So we talked about a restaurant on the first floor towards the front of the property to activate the front lawn. And we talked about the function space up on the second floor. Also, what you're seeing here is a rendering of what we could re-envision the gymnasium space. It's a two-story space. What we've done is just open it up on three sides to the interior of the building and shown it as an opportunity for performances, musical performances, theater performances, poems, lectures, and whatever the town would want to host there. Again, a really nice, fun, vibrant space for the community. We also believe, I'm not sure if there's another rendering on this concept. No, we'll stay here. This one's more fun. There is also space on the first floor on the side where there's parking, where there could be a commercial space, and that could be a great opportunity for Franklin Arts to be relocated there. And then the second and third floor, the space that isn't the library, we thought could divide itself up really well into artist lofts, studios, maker spaces. So you're really creating a arts community here where there's dining, there's sports activities, there's theater, music, art. There's spaces that people could rent and use for all different types of organizations in town.
So when we met with Sharon's team, they had these amazing storyboards, and I'm like, wow, this is great, but how are we going to pay for it? I was the party pooper of the meeting. So like our colleagues, we think that a partnership with higher education and public education is very important. It's essential, really. And the buildings that are proposed with regard to the rec department, that would be a municipal building, but likely there would be some kind of lease in place for that. The business community would have a really great opportunity to have a premier entertainment and restaurant space in this community that I don't think really exists to the level that it could here. This whole speakeasy concept is really cool, and it flows with the times of the building.
Yep, it's built in the 20s, and one of our designers went to the space and just thought, gee, that little stairway on the side is giving me some cool speakeasy vibes, and we thought, with the restaurant, that'd be a fun little addition to the town that a lot of people perked up right away and were like, ooh, I'd go.
And, so the easy and obvious thing might be that it's just another Dean College building, but I don't think that's what the town wants. I think the town wants something that really is honoring the needs of the community from a public standpoint versus higher education or private industry. It's we think that this project is sustainable in the sense that without overbuilding the site and making like major infrastructure investments in the property, you could leverage the assets of the existing building and get a really vibrant and sustainable and workable product that could last another 50 to 100 years and have the adaptability to it. Anything else you'd like to
Not really. I know we did hear feedback from you guys about housing. That's something that we had in our proposals. I'll just say to add that to the conversation because I feel like it'll probably be a question. There are a lot of challenges with this existing building, a lot of hazardous materials. We felt that the layout of the building, the hazardous materials, we felt it wasn't necessarily the most natural fit. And also with the idea, we were excited about sort of the vibrancy that the building could bring, you know, maybe loud music venues, you know, function spaces. We were looking for more of space that we thought, as far as an investment, making the investment for all those kitchens and bathrooms and upgrading to make it a safe, livable space wasn't the direction that we went. We went in the direction of bringing energy to the town, bringing spaces to people to use them, and having it be a little bit louder than, you know, than that.
Yeah, and I think that there are existing housing projects or multifamily projects, and there are likely going to be some more that come down the pipeline with potentially MBTA zoning and some other, you know, mill properties in town. So this really we feel is going to be the service center to all of that community without adding more traffic, more curb cuts. You know, this maintains the character that the town so desired, I believe.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Any questions?
Okay. Questions?
Me again. Thank you for the presentation, and again for last time, as I voiced the last time, the interior concept and the renderings for the Davis Thayer building for me are the most attractive, and an opportunity to really increase the vibrancy and utility of the site for the next 50 to 100 years. And whether it's standalone or some type of combination with additional development in the rear to add some residential component or other mixed use opportunities, something to explore. But I think from the concepts that are shown, given it could be feasible from a financial standpoint, I think for me add a tremendous amount of opportunity for enhancing that part of town and creating more opportunity for other development and growth immediately around it.
Thank you, Chris. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
I'm gonna ask the multi-million-dollar question,
Okay.
because that's what I'm famous for. How do you guys make money on a project like this?
To be determined. No, it's really just a function of return
I
on
mean, I love the
investment.
idea,
It's-
don't get me wrong, I'm
Sure,
I'm
yeah,
scratching my
yeah.
head like you do all of that, and it become a community art space and a theater and a speakeasy, so do you
Well,
make money, like, cause you
all
have to
of
charge
that-
for all that stuff to people that use
Yeah.
it, or you make money from the restaurant, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, so the restaurant is one entity, and that, again, could also be the same entity that owns and rents out the private function space. I've heard a lot of people, you know, I've been to events at the VFW or other lodges, the Elks Club. I think this would be a really attractive alternative space for people to rent out. We even, when some of our first renderings, we had, you know, bride suites up there, so you could have small weddings, engagement parties. So I think it could be open to the public as a rental space. So the restaurant component could own and operate and rent out those spaces. Speakeasy, don't underestimate the amount of money that could bring in, you never know. And then the theater, we were envisioning that as something that would be for ticket sales, you know, similar to the Black Box, but I understand that not everybody has the opportunity to perform at the Black Box. This is another space that people that want to perform, musicians, or like I said, it could be lectures or poetry readings, or art could be set up as an art gallery. I think that it could be rented out and people would, you know, buy tickets and go to these events. And then the loft spaces up above would be probably managed by an entity like the Franklin Arts Association, and people could rent out loft spaces and maker spaces upstairs. So I think there's a couple different avenues that, yes, it's for the community. It would have to bring in profit, but the people that would be interested in these spaces would be paying to use them.
And it's, I know your vision is not to do housing, because you said that, so the ADA compliance issues still exist though? So
Yes,
still
we did.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, so I know that means a lot of improvements to the site, I know that means an elevator, I know that means widening doorways, I mean, so there is some still significant improvements, capital improvements that you'd have to make to the
Yes, we did look at some floor plans and looked at elevator cores, not only for pedestrian circulation, but also for the restaurant to be able to, you know, access the basement and the function spaces. They would want an elevator. So we looked at some opportunities for, you know, 2 elevators and some new central stairs. So there is a lot of infrastructure.
Sure.
So that would be a challenge. It is definitely, we're trying to utilize the building as much as possible. But yeah, there's a lot of work still.
Yeah, a lot of things need to align for this to make sense, for sure. But you wanted a vision, we provided it. I think that really touches on all these points. It may get down to a conversation of how do we pay for it, how does the town contribute in some way with regard to services and spaces that they would occupy. Or it could be an additional partnership with Dean College as well to provide them some opportunity for their arts programs, with the function spaces, the entertainment spaces. So there are a lot of questions to be answered for sure.
My last question, when you reference artist lofts,
Yes.
you're talking about creative space for artists to do their work, not places for artists to live.
Correct, yeah, so I'm thinking studio space, and we looked at the upper 2 floors, the space that's not the double height of the library, and they could be broken up into smaller spaces or larger, classroom spaces. But yeah, not a place to live 24/7, a place to go and do painting, pottery, art classes, photography, whatever it would want to be fit out as.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just curious, is it the location of Davis Thayer that you're most interested in, or like the building itself?
That's a good question. It's probably both. So we're located in Mosley Mills, which is right down the street. And I would say there's about 12 of us in our office that live in Franklin, so we're all very connected to the community. The building itself is a beautiful architectural element that we would love to see be preserved. It also is the location. I understood in the original expression of interest, it was talked about as a gateway to downtown. And that's why we felt activating the front lawn was a really important aspect of it, because as you come from the other side into town, we thought, gee, if someone could enter Franklin that way and see a beautifully restored historic building that has a modern addition. We intentionally made the balcony look modern and not look historic because we wanted to show, a modern addition. We want to show sculptures on the front lawn. Maybe there's solar panels on the roof. I think those things would speak to people about what type of community this is. And it would be really active. There'd be people outside. So I think that it's a good opportunity to showcase the values of the town. And I think one of those values is preserving a building like this.
Thank you.
Chris, you had your hand up?
Nope, I was
Oh, all
pointing.
right, you were just pointing to her.
Just through Madam Chair, I do like the concept of revitalizing the building, but what I really do like is saving a lot of the property that's there and just not building on the property. I like the idea of the green space, the ball field, maybe future use, but for the time being, if you can make the numbers work, the facility the way it is, I mean, that's a great use. Thank you.
Excuse me, no problem. And Ted, to back to your comment about the artist loft site, I was just thinking it wouldn't have to all be artist lofts. It could be therapist office, or it could be business use. I think the idea was that it's not residences, but it could be a small business owner or a therapist office or something else that just needs a small space in town that wants to be close to the downtown. But hearing all the talk about artists and maker space, that really spoke to me.
And I think the other point too that Matt Zajac had emailed about was just we have a performance space, but practice space. So not only artist studios, but musician studio space. Those are hard to come by, and a classroom could be easily divvied up into 2 or 3 types of spaces where you could have a practice space that way. So just something else to put in the pile.
Yeah, I could, sorry,
Go ahead.
it's okay.
Go
I
ahead.
could just, to piggyback on what you're saying, I could see some of the lofts possibly being multi-use, because if a wall could go from being used by a visual artist from 9 in the morning morning till noon, and then all of a sudden there's a quick little shift, and then it's available for musicians in the afternoon, like something else in the evening, like those kind of creative options
Yeah,
would broaden the usage and exposure.
absolutely. That would be a fun study to dig into
Yeah,
that.
I think the community would respond really well to that too. So,
Very good.
yeah.
All set. And on Zoom, did we already go to Zoom?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're set with them. I
No,
didn't
we
know if
have,
the Art Association of them wanted to
Mark
have
raising his
anything
hand
else to
again?
say?
Mark's going 3 for 3.
We haven't heard.
Anna,
You may not have the information, but
Right.
it sounds as though, great, I mean, it's beautiful, and it sounds very vibrant and really fabulous, I mean, but how much is it gonna cost for people to rent the spaces, rent gallery space, for example? I'm assuming all of this space is going to be, it's going to, there's a price to it.
yeah, that's a great point. I think it depends on the organizations that might have interest in partnering with us. It depends on, the size of the spaces. Like, there's a lot of flexibility upstairs if it's, a whole floor for some organization, or if it's just one classroom, I can't speak to that just yet, but I would love to have the opportunity to have those conversations and see what works.
And it also speaks to, what's the town's commitment truly to maintaining the space for the town. That, we can only do so much, right?
Right.
Okay.
I think Mark was trying to talk to you through Zoom.
Yeah.
Mark, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. This is Mark. So I have 3 questions for you. First of all, can you explain whether you've done old school conversions like this in the past? Secondly, would you be open to, or have you approached the dean representatives? It seems to me that a sort of an art-focused venue like this would be something that they would also potentially partner with. And then thirdly, I think your original proposal had a proposal part A and a proposal part B. And we talked a little bit tonight, there were questions about residential. And in your proposal plan B, instead of that second building that you would be building from the ground up, instead of that being Franklin Recreation Department, I think it was proposed to be residential, and you wouldn't have, obviously if you're building from the ground up, you wouldn't have to worry about materials and things like that you expressed concerns about in the older building. So can you explain why you are not talking about that residential piece tonight?
Sure, I'll answer the questions in reverse. So starting with the last one. Yeah, so this was something, so when we got the expression of interest and we started having conversations with Matt, as he mentioned, he came into our office and we had 2 rounds of design charrettes. And everyone on the team pinned up different ideas, and we liked a lot of different aspects of them, and we consolidated into 2. Because again, we didn't really know what you were looking for. So our original proposal, we said, look, there's 2 directions that we thought we could go. We could go adaptive reuse of the existing building, or we could go, as Matt had kind of referenced a little bit, this idea of sort of maximizing the site. Like, what would it look like if we just did as much as we could on this site and really maximize the building potential? But we still didn't want to lose the front facade. So this was a facade preservation with the new construction. And we've had multiple conversations about that. And there are projects that we've referenced as precedent for this where you really just preserve the front facade and then you build everything new behind it. So that's something that we were interested in based on the first meeting that was held a couple weeks ago. We really got some feedback that, the land was important, the ballpark was important, and we just felt, and I felt in my gut that maybe there'd be more support for the first approach. And that maybe this option was truly mixed use. There was a lot of residential components to it, but there was also entertainment space in the existing building just with new construction. So this is something we looked at, but, you know, we were just trying to sort of narrow down what we thought was the right approach based on all the feedback we've heard.
But couldn't you do your proposed use of the older building as a sort of an art-oriented building and still build Building B as a residential use building?
Absolutely. So in this first site plan, instead of, you know, where we drew the Franklin Rec Department, we could propose a second residential component on the site. If housing is something that the town wants, you know, we could do that. We were just thinking in the existing building, it might be difficult, but certainly if it was new construction at the other end of the site, that's something we could entertain.
One of the challenges you have with these newer apartment projects is, you know, there's a lot of them now, right? And it's the amenities, right? So this site, in order to compete in that market, essentially would have to raise the existing structure and really maximize the build out of the site and have a clubhouse feel and have the pool and the dog park and all that great stuff that, you know, people want in their community and in their property. So this site really doesn't lend itself to that, or at least the goal of the development of the site is to be a gateway, to maintain some character, some historical components. So it treads on that real quick, fortunately or unfortunately, right?
And then to just, I haven't personally had discussions with Dean, you know, nothing.
Conceptually, some of our, as I might have touched on, some of our big, hairy, audacious goals here are that we are going to rely on a partner like Dean partially, and a partner like the town, and the Arts Council, and just some certain businesses that are willing to take a shot at this, because there's a really huge opportunity here with the restaurant and function space. I think the right restaurateur could knock it out of the park, no pun intended, right? I think there's a really big opportunity there, and that would be probably the major source of income for the property is first the restaurant space, then the function space, then the arts and entertainment spaces, and then the loft spaces. Like, you know, so make no mistake, those probably aren't the biggest revenue generator, but it's a piece of it, and it's that value add that makes it you know, a more interesting project. The ball fields, of course, would be modernized, and you know, we just want to get a much more functional site. And there's a gentleman on our team that spoke highly of these ball fields, and he just really wanted to maintain them. And I thought it was good, you know. So I think it's a big piece. You know, there's not a lot of ball fields anymore. Right? They're going away.
And my first question was about your experience with other old school rehabs such as this.
Sure. So HFA as an organization, as I mentioned, has 400 plus or minus employees. We are located in Franklin, Bentonville, Fort Worth, Texas, and Mexico City as our primary offices, and we have employees all over the country. So we have experience in a very wide variety of projects. I personally have done some adaptive reuse. I used to do a lot of university work, mostly dining halls, Bryant University Dining Hall, Northeastern University Village Dining Hall. We've done a lot of renovations. Our office is in Mosley Mills. I was the designer that did the interior renovation for that. We've done other factory renovations throughout the country. We've done some adaptive reuse of historic buildings in Bentonville. So I feel very confident that between our pool of, 300 architects, engineers, and support staff, we have the resources we need to make sure that this is done right. Matt, I'll let you speak to your portfolio.
You know, I started my life in the hazardous waste remediation business, so I have a lot of experience with renovating portions of schools. We didn't take it to completion because we weren't the developer at the time, but we had a lot of experience with old schools, old industrial municipal buildings, whether it be, modernizing them, removing contaminants of concern, and getting them ready for redevelopment. So that coupled with our new construction experience and multifamily experience, it's a good fit for us, our experience.
Okay, thank you. I really like the creativity of the space that you're proposing. So thank you.
Thank you.
go back to the other slide that shows that second building in the back?
The second option rendering?
Yeah,
Sure.
the next one there, yeah.
This one here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, that's
so-
not attached to the Davis Thayer.
So what you're looking at here is, you can see the arched windows on the front.
Yeah.
That is preserving a portion of the front facade with the arched windows and basically building everything new on that. And really, again, this was sort of a design approach that said, and there's another slide to it, that shows sort of an interior courtyard. This was a concept, there's a little site plan at the bottom saying, you know, what if we were to take the approach of maximizing the site for density, looking at a housing option, and creating sort of a housing community on this site. So, you know, like I said, we had a lot of people on the team with a lot of really different creative ideas, so we wanted to present sort of two approaches. And then from the last meeting, we sort of felt that the first approach was more in line with what we heard from the committee, but we still had fun pulling this one together too.
Pulling it all together. Okay, thank you.
Debbie, we have someone else on Zoom.
All
too.
right, let's
Lisa.
go.
Lisa Piana.
Lisa.
Who is it?
Lisa Piana.
Oh, Lisa, okay.
Oh, can you hear me?
Hi, Lisa, yes, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you. Lisa Piana, Executive Director for the Franklin Downtown Partnership. I just had a couple overall comments, not for this group, but for all the groups that presented. I have to say, I'm pretty excited for a couple reasons. One, I just love that everyone's talking about this site being the gateway, because I think that is a big part of what should be in the vision statement, is to recognize that this is kind of the first spot as you're coming in from that part of the town to come into the downtown. And so I just love so many of the ideas that the presenters have presented tonight. And of course, the art community, as I think Roberta said earlier, has been waiting for many years now. The Walgreens site, the Emmons Street site, and here's our third opportunity. So I just want to put in a plug to really keep going with the art center space, however that can work and everybody can make money, but just keep that as a focus. And so I just wanted to say thank you to the committee for taking the time to have these presentations, and to thank the presenters for all of their time on it. One last comment, I guess it's more of a suggestion, is in the vision statement, I'm just wondering, or definitely before it gets to the RFP, I guess, is, you know, when you talk about the rec center, you know, is that something that the town's considering moving that? Because I just think that needs to be, yes, we would consider that, or no, we don't want. They're happy where they're at, because, you know, just to be apples to apples, so somebody doesn't include it if the town doesn't want it, or if the town does want it and likes that idea, then perhaps let everybody know so everybody can incorporate it in, because that's a very big idea, moving the rec center, unless it's just a satellite rec center, then that's a whole nother subject. So anyway, that's all I have to say tonight. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
So I'll just say, it was kind of interesting because when we were talking about the site, I drive by, it's on Beaver Street, right? I drive by their current space, and for a while I didn't know where it was, and then I kept going to the fields down there, and I was like, oh, that's the rec center. And I was like, oh, it's kind of like hidden, it's not really very prominent. So it was kind of more of an idea that we generated, and we haven't taken the step yet, you know, to reach out to them and see, hey, in this imaginary idea, would you maybe consider coming to this space that we would create for you if maybe it happens? But it was a thought like, hey, they have a space there. Wouldn't it be kind of cool if they were interested in being closer to downtown? Another space that just comes to mind is the Franklin Youth Soccer. I go to their offices all the time, right next to Downtown Sports. And again, see that space is kind of like, oh, you know, wouldn't it be kind of cool if they had a big, the town has a lot of great athletic organizations. So it really could be an idea of if there's any athletic organization that would be interested in being close to downtown, being close to a park, that could present an opportunity. So we threw that name out there. I think in the proposal at one point, at least internally in our office, we had some of the different town organizations that are involved in different athletics as, you know, potential people that we would see if that's the right fit for them. But
Well, thank you so much for coming this evening.
thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Jamie, would you like to talk about our next step now, what we're going to do?
Sure.
So that they'll all be able to hear it, too.
Yep, yeah, sure, through you, Council Bldg. In the packet, there was a draft recommendation letter that kind of summarizes the committee's work. Amy and I threw it together in our sleep at some point last week while we were doing other work. I think it just tried to capture the general sentiments that were spoken to at the last meeting. And as far as I see it, you know, I was going to say the council too, Debbie. The committee really needs to just look at this recommendation. You know, and just to be clear, you know, the recommendation was written kind of in honor of the three proposals that we've really had. I mean, I would say that 5 months ago when we were putting this out, if you had told me that we would have these particular companies with these types of ideas, with this type of discussion, I don't think I would have expected it to happen. So I'm, you know, really, really thrilled that this level and quality of the folks that have applied and the work that they've already done within their companies, right, is really astonishing. And so we've got, you know, just to be clear for the folks at home, the committee is not picking one of these three to move forward with. I think all the conversation is really awesome, all the questions, the thoughts, but a lot of that is really very far away to answer, like would the town take a rec building? I mean, I can't answer that type of stuff right now, obviously. But the draft that's in front of you, I think encompasses what the general sentiments were, which were that the committee was, if possible, attempting to maintain ownership of the land. Right. If possible, maintaining ownership of the building, while also prioritizing protection of the outside facade. And then based on the expression of interest proposals, I think the committee was leaning towards some sort of mixed-use concept. But it also leaves open, I think, at the end, the committee also believes the priorities going to the council shouldn't limit their ability to look at all the different stuff. I think we've got a lot of folks that are excited about all three of these ideas. I think all three of these ideas are fantastic amenities for the town. Really the committee can amend this recommendation any way they want. You could decide tonight that you don't like what you thought 2 weeks ago, change your mind. You know, but from my point of view, you know, generally speaking, which is going to be a town manager's answer all the time, you know, when this goes to the council level, you know, we have to obviously dig another couple layers deeper for an RFP process, because the big element, the big element here that we haven't discussed is really finance. You know, and I think the questions around that are great, and I think the proponents too, you know, also know that they've got to go do their numbers and figure out exactly how this brings in money, how the money flow would work. We also have a lot of questions on the town side. If we own the land and we lease it out and they do the work, a private company, do they still have to pay prevailing wage? I mean, there's a lot of little nuanced questions that the council's going to have to eventually answer with our town attorney and legal review. But for tonight's purpose, Madam Chair, I mean, the recommendation is here. If folks want to change it, reprioritize, do something different, feel free, or edit this. I've got it right up here ready to go. And so if you want me to make any changes or edits, you know, happy to do so. But just so everybody knows, the committee by charge technically sunsets next week. So, you know, tonight's really an important date to either, one, make a formal recommendation to the council, or two, you'd have to ask the council for an extension of the committee charge to have some more deliberation.
Okay, Tim just had a good point.
Thank you,
Chad.
Thank you, Sal.
You've been doing good though, right?
You had a few meetings, Debbie. You're doing really good.
It's been a year since you mispronounced my name.
And we're on the council together, so
Right.
I mean, hey.
All in good fun.
And now you know what happened? my granddaughter has a boyfriend and his name is Tim. So you think I'm not confused with you, you should hear me with him.
That's a whole different conversation.
Do you call him
Another
Ted?
one. Right. But you know I apologize. Okay, let's see. Should we be reading this aloud tonight so that the residents would be able to know exactly what this draft is?
Well, you could, but I mean, it was in the agenda, and people are gonna read it anyway. I mean, it's gonna be a public
So
record.
we won't need to, okay, all right.
After Tim.
We have to read it. All right.
I suggested that we read it, because then it was public record and then we could edit it if needed, but Tim often gets voted down, so it's okay. Yeah.
He just
No,
doesn't
Ted
know
gets
what
his
to
way,
do.
but
What
Tim
can
never
I
does.
say? What can I say? All right. So if this is going to be looked at by the rest of the committee and all, when would we make changes to this? Would we just call you?
You make them right now.
Make them right now.
Yeah.
If-
Like right now is the time for change.
This committee expires
Yeah.
shortly.
This
Okay.
committee
Yeah.
expires
We have this
in
and-
10 minutes.
I personally, and I think we agreed, I don't want the if possible, I want as is, the town maintains ownership. I don't want the if possible. Just to set it straight, we want to maintain that right.
All right, and where do you see this? Tell us.
Second page.
Paragraph?
Bullet points.
Bullet point, first bullet point,
First bullet point, yeah.
in second
It's,
bullet
in other
point.
words, you want to delete if possible.
Yeah, I want to take the if possible.
Got it.
I just want to make sure the town,
I agree with Greg on that, on the, if possible, on the ownership of the
Yeah.
land.
Oh,
The
okay.
building being its own piece
Yeah.
and the development, the feasibility, financial component.
Yeah.
The building may, Debbie, earmuffs, have to come down. But the land control, I think, to me, is the biggest component.
Right.
I mean, it's just a recommendation to the
Right.
council. It's a committee recommendation, and all of you, you know, you don't have to all agree. But, you know,
Nice if you
a
did.
majority of the committee has to agree that your recommendation is to maintain the land at all costs.
Yep.
So you're making a motion then. You would like to take out if possible.
Correct.
All right, is there a second to that?
Second?
Second? A discussion? No? Then all those in favor of deleting if possible, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Megan.
Oh,
Megan's on Zoom. You have to do a roll call.
All right,
That's right.
roll call vote.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, Megan. We hope you feel better.
Thanks.
We don't have papers for a roll call.
Are these all the changes?
You just do a roll call. We'll take down the
We'll
notes.
Gwen makes a great point. Do we have other recommendations, and should we do a roll call at the end?
You
at
could.
the very end,
Yeah,
That sounds terrific.
I have,
That's the first edit, are there others?
I have a question on page 1. Should the date on numeral 4 be updated?
I'm sorry, what's that? Gwen, if I couldn't hear you.
Page 1,
Yep.
bullet 4, just mentions the
Oh.
23rd of December, and then the sentence below says all 4 tasks were accomplished, but we did not make a recommendation by December.
Right, because remember, we were sort of late.
Yeah, we got
You
it.
extended
We
the
got
charge.
extended.
So should we just change?
Yeah, you can do
the
June
date?
30th.
Yeah,
So that's a second.
So change it to
June
today?
30th, yeah.
Today,
Or-
or June 30th.
To June 30th?
Yes.
Well, we
Sunday,
would
that's the
charge
end of the
them.
charge.
the end of
I know, but don't we want to change that to a higher date?
June 30th, 2024.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I understand that.
Oh,
But June 30th is 5 days from now.
Right, because we're not gonna.
That's when our committee
we're not
expires.
meeting again.
We don't have to make any more of the changes of that.
Just simply what Gwyneth is saying is the original charge had a mandate to put it in by the end of 2023.
Right.
But because the work was going to continue on, the
Right.
council made it to June 30th, 2024. And as a result, Gwyneth's just saying, even though the original charge said that date, we'll just update it to next week.
Okay.
Because the committee dissolves on June 30th, 2024.
Oh, okay. Okey-doke. Any other changes?
Chris, you had quite a few, right?
Yeah.
Well, we can do, if it's
they're
like
typographical,
wordsmithing or
yes.
typos, just
Yeah.
give me the content. For this purpose tonight, I think we just want the substance.
I think the only other substance change would be, we reference 4 proposals, but now we have a combined 3 proposals.
Oh, okay.
So revising that language from 4 to 3. And then the other stuff is syntax and wordsmithing.
Syntax and wordsmithing. I love syntax, I love that word.
Any other ones you want?
Nothing of substance, no.
Okay. Nope. Nope. So then we just have the June 30th, and we have the if possible. Those are the only two, correct?
And
changing
if
4
possible,
to
June
3.
30th.
And
From
what?
4 to 3.
4 to 3.
And 4 to 3. Where is that on this memo?
It's in a
Page
couple
2,
different
third bullet.
places. Yeah.
Okay. I see it over here, but, okay,
Third
change
bullet.
it from 4 to 3.
Page 1 above the tasks, it says
Okay.
4, oh, I'm sorry, that's the tasks, yeah. Right.
Okay. Now, do we have to vote on all 3?
Well, I think you just, all of them, yeah, I think I got it, but I just want to, again, make sure that the substance of this is, everybody else has general consensus, because I think Chris is right. Like, if there's other substantive changes that the committee wants, now's the time to do it, and then you just vote it all at the end.
Okay.
Can I
No?
ask a question?
Sure.
This is to Jamie. Should there be something referenced here that it's our recommendation to the council to put forth an actual RFP?
We could do that. I mean, that's gonna,
That's essentially what we're saying.
Yeah.
well, that's a given. I mean, at some point, you're gonna have to do some sort of request for proposals. But if you want want me to formally add that in, absolutely,
Yeah.
happy to do
I
that.
think
that's a good
it's a
idea.
good thing to add. My only other thing to add, Jamie, since we've gotten so much public feedback, is in bullet 5, where we talk about on page 2, we talk about the possible use of the Arts Center. Could we add gallery space for Franklin Art Association?
You can, I think.
I'm just throwing it out there as a possible use, right, because
I think
heard from
recognizing
some
the
people.
exact organization is the issue, right?
Okay.
Because, at some point, I think everybody here knows, and I think the record is being spoken pretty clearly, that there's not only FAA, but groups that are looking for space.
Can we say gallery space for local
You could do
artists?
gallery space for local artists,
Okay,
absolutely.
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a particular bullet point, Ted, or just a separate bullet point?
I thought bullet 5
Yeah.
on page 2, where you talked about the Art Center, that language
Oh, yeah.
there
Okay.
might make sense, right?
Sure.
I just wouldn't want us to lose sight of that,
Yeah.
since that's been
No.
so important in
Yeah.
all of the proposals.
Do you see where that is, Jamie?
Yep.
Okay.
So we could do a roll call on the edits and then go forward.
I think that sounds good.
But do we make a motion to
I think it's been
revise?
motioned
To
and
appro-
seconded.
But
so
we only
have-
did the one.
So we have all those edits?
Right. We got 3 substantive changes, and then Chris is gonna give me syntaxes. And if anybody else has any comments, Amy's taking some notes too. So we've got the substantive changes written down.
But you just need a roll call from this group to approve it based on what you just said, right?
Yep.
Okay.
As amended.
As a- Do I need to read off everybody's name from their little nameplates?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, and you know what? Just turn this page over and use the back.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Give me a second. I'm not Glenn, so this might take me a second.
That's me, Chris. That's me.
Roberta,
Too late, I already did it.
Greg. I know Pat, even though I don't want his vote this time. All right, so.
And don't forget Megan on
Okay.
on Zoom.
Megan on, we have a motion now. We had it for just the one, so now we have to do it for all of them. Is there a motion on the floor to make those changes on this draft?
Motion to accept amended changes. Madam Chair.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay. Now we will do a roll call vote because we have Megan that's not here,
And this is to approve this document as amended,
as amended.
Correct.
As a draft.
as a draft.
Well, this is a final recommendation.
Final
I mean,
recommendation.
final recommendation
Okay.
to the council, so.
With the
um,
changes, right.
Chris,
Yes.
Gwyneth,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Roberta,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
and me, yes. So unanimous, 9-0.
Sounds good.
Motion passed.
Motion to adjourn.
Well, I think that we've done very well this
yeah,
committee as far as getting
Can I make a
everybody's
motion to adjourn?
interest.
Do we need to do that?
No, you gotta let Debbie finish
Oh, I'm
first.
sorry.
Oh, yeah.
What is it, you wanna leave already?
She
Give
was
us
just
a
getting
Can we
started.
do another open house?
I just wanted to thank everybody on this committee, that we've had 6 different meetings now, and I think we've accomplished an awful lot within that amount of time.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you bear with me, because this is my first time chairing a committee like this, that I have been chair on others, but this is a little deeper than I thought, okay, with all the building and all of that. So I'm so glad
fun stuff.
we had many of you, you know, from those fields that were here to help us.
You did great, Sandy.
Oh, God,
You did
Sandy.
You did great. You did great.
All right, do I hear a motion to, let me just make sure, because I had taken a note here.
Need a roll call?
Yeah, but no, presentation. Okay, motion to adjourn.
I have to roll call that as well.
Yes, you do.
Formally, I have to do a roll call vote to adjourn, everybody, so.
Okay.
Chris,
Yes.
Gwyneth,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Roberta,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
and Ted, yes.
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Okay.
Recording stopped.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.